This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is proudly being powered by two different games. The first of these is TradeWarz, a game of kings. The Game of Kings is a 5X, you got that right, 5X not 4X, empire building game in resource management, strategy, and military might, where you zealously need to rule. There's still about 3 weeks left to go on this game. It's about 90 minutes, give or take, depending. You can play a short game or a long game. 2 to 6 players, ages 14 and up. This is an awesome game. I sat down with 3 creators to talk all about it, and you'll be able to find that on the next episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief. You got a question? Well, I've got an answer for you if I can find it. What is 5X exactly? Well, it's got explore, it's got expand, it's got exploit, and it's got exterminate. And finally, expropriate. So, you want a 5X game? Definitely check out TradeWarz, a Game of Kings, by our friendly creators out of South Africa. Also, this episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is proudly being powered by Stupid Users Beta. Beta is a unique, fast-paced, ever-changing, item-looting, army-building card game, which the Leafs will, by the way, be previewing as soon as I locate our copy, as sometimes my brain is blocked by Germagica's virus. I sometimes say I have short-term memory loss and I have no idea where I placed the game. Hate to admit it, but it's true.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
It's been a while since I've done combinatorics, but if I was trying to like impress you with a number, there's somewhere in the realm of 85,000 different ways to play this game.
There you go. You heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, depending on how his numbers are. 85,000 different ways or so, depending.
Analysis paralysis is kind of twofold on this. One thing that we do to avoid it is, like I said, you have a limited hand.
And now you talked about 3 years or so of play testing or whatnot. How many renditions of the game have you seen over the 3 years?
We have seen maybe 5 major versions of the game in that time, and dozens of introductions or removals of mechanics and things like that. Because when you're making a board game, you start out with what you think like the exact way that game should be is. But you go out and you do all these play tests and you get in front of people and you see what they like and what they don't. And even though you had the starting spot, if you're not listening, you're not going out and like changing the game because they didn't like this or they really liked this, then you're not going to have a game that people want to play. And as a game maker, I think the thing everyone always wants is they want people to want to play their game.
Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Hey friend, a wave of criminal masterminds and their brute-brained lackeys have turned this town upside down. It's up to us to clear them out using the power of friendship. And violence. Actually, we're mostly going to be using violence. Alright, if you're going to save the city, you're going to have to punch, suplex, and crane kick your way through wave after wave of bad guys, and they don't go down easy. Plan your combo and push your luck. Play it right, you just might string together a flurry of blows powerful enough to drop them in their tracks. Play it wrong, though, and you're leaving yourself wide open. Bring a team or save the city yourself. You choose whether it's a comic book crossover or a solo run. Now, each and every one of you heroes brings your own abilities and arsenal of attacks to the plate. And that's good, because every single one of these crime lords is their own special little kind of threat. So maybe you're a fast-hitting featherweight boxer trying to close out your enemies before they get in a good hit themselves. Maybe you're an iron-hearted wrestler who wades through the damage to protect their team. Maybe you're some kung fu hero who bends the rules of the fight to your will. You better come correct. Your whole team's going to be relying on you to do what you do best. It's Beatdown Streets of Justice. Plan your combo, save the city.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but that is the story of Beatdown, Streets of Justice, a new game that's currently on Kickstarter for a little bit longer. And tonight we're lucky enough to have on the creator and mastermind behind this great game. Matt, is that correct? Is that how you fall in line with Beatdown, Streets of Justice?
That's the one, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf. We really appreciate it, Matt.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Now, before we jump into everything that's great about Beatdown and whatnot, let's go ahead and rewind a little bit. We don't have to go back too terribly far, of course, unless you were born into tabletop board gaming and whatnot. But how did you get started into playing tabletop board games?
About high school. Before that, Monopoly, Sorry, things like that. But one of my friends got a copy of Bang and was so excited about it, like he got everybody over to play it week after week. And from there, found the other gateway games, Carcassonne and Settlers of Catan and so on and so forth, until finally I'm buying Kingdom Death Monster off of Kickstarter.
Oh boy, awesome. So at the current time, besides Beatdown, Streets of Justice, do you have a different favorite game?
Yes, Weave.
Weave. I don't know that I've heard of that one. What can you do? Maybe there's other people out there like me. What can you tell us about that game?
Okay, so Weave is like a tabletop RPG, like Dungeons and Dragons in a box, but it's kind of run by an app. And so it's very simplified down to a few dice, a few tarot cards that they read with your camera phone. But other than that, like, it's kind of all pushed aside and everything's hidden behind the scenes so that you can really focus on the simple storytelling choices. It's really fun because I love D&D, but sometimes I'm not a huge fan of those big crunchy number systems.
Oh boy, yeah, I can't blame you. I used to live, even like with Pathfinder or whatnot, I never played them. I played a RPG back when I was in high school, but I don't remember much about it. It's been too long, 20 years ago or plus. And then listening to, a while back ago, I used to listen to, what is it called? The Glass Cannon podcast, where they would go ahead and do an actual playthrough of Pathfinder, and they'd always say they roll a number and then they have all these modifiers and whatnot, and so I always got confused. So this doesn't have stuff like that in it?
Yeah, it's real simple. Like the dice have like symbols, fire, water, wind, and so like when you make a check, it's like, hey, go ahead and make a fire 2 check. You roll the dice. If you get at least 2 fire symbols, you're good to go. Like that's as complex as it gets, and everything else is kind of geared more towards, you have feats and attributes and items that aren't really tied down in numbers. They're more filled with flavor and automatically generated text that describe it so that you can more focus on how would I use this in the story.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. So, and you called it Weave?
Weave, yeah. It's like a year or two old.
So if you own the rights to Weave, being a designer and all, what would be one thing you would do to change about it?
Like I just said, going to kind of flip on myself, how I'm not a huge fan of the crunchy number systems. I don't think that they're bad. I think that what's bad about them is how they take away from the ability to play a game quickly. And since you're driving it with an app, I think that there's plenty of opportunity to take things like actual stats on items, actual roll modifiers, and kind of obscure them away so that the app just tells you what you have to roll. Instead of simplifying it down to just a 6-dice game, you can have the depth and complexity of D&D or Pathfinder or Rotted Capes, and then have the players engage with the numbers as much as they want to, instead of just taking them out entirely like Weave did.
So kind of make the app do less and the players more, I guess, or the dice more?
Well, so like let's say that for the sake of guessing, let's say that your character got a chair, right? And they want to use the chair as a weapon. The app could like calculate the chair's weight, its sharpness, and like combine that with your strength, your speed, any abilities like that. But then when you say I want to use it as a weapon, it would use all of that to generate some numeric value, like say roll 3d6 because it did this complex math behind the scenes, the sort of thing that you'd be doing by hand with Pathfinder or D&D or any of those sort of things. And then it could simplify and present to the user a simple thing that they can roll off of so that you know that there's numbers powering it, but you don't have to stop play to go calculate them yourself.
So, yeah, that sounds really cool. So have it do the calculations and stuff?
Yeah.
And D&D, I don't know if that was like that in the first edition or what, or how long the modifiers and all that other stuff has been there. So, and also rewinding, because D&D has been around for quite some time, also rewinding to something that seems to be around for quite some time. It looks like, according to the art that I'm seeing on a new game that's on Kickstarter, it reminds me of maybe like a Double Dragon or something. The word on the street is you have a new game on Kickstarter. What can you tell us about Beatdown Streets of Justice, and does it have any tie or any inspiration from Double Dragon or games like that?
Absolutely. So Double Dragon, Streets of Rage, even Battletoads a little bit is where we wanted to pull the theme from. You're wandering through the city that's being overrun by criminals and crime lords, and you have to fight your way through the waves of them, eventually take out the boss. There's a lot of little nods to that sort of gameplay style, not just in the artwork and the play mats and things like that, but also in the fact that if you hit an enemy hard enough, piece of loot or a super move might pop out of them that you can pick up or let one of your friends pick up and then work into your attack. So that's like the theme there is really one of the things we wanted to bring to life through the mechanics. And the mechanics is all about how do you build your combos. You've got cards in your hand that are your attacks, and you're trying to string them together into combos, but the longer your combo goes, the harder it is to string it together, because with each card you lay down, you're going to be rolling and trying to continue or not against an ever-increasing combo rating that you have to beat to keep your combo going. And so you kind of decide, when do I push my luck and go to try to knock this guy out in one go? When do I back off? And then you have this set of 60 different attacks that come from the deck, and kind of picking how that goes down.
Oh, okay. So as opposed to using dice or whatnot, maybe I'm trying to build and draft a combo with my cards, it sounds like. So is there does a boss have a combo too that I'm fighting against, or how does that work out?
In the earliest versions of the game, the enemies attacked back in a similar way, but now the enemies run off of just an attack deck. So when it's their turn to hit, they flip one card. There's some AI on the card that says which player is it targeting, because this game plays solo up to 4-player, just like the 4-player arcade cabinets. But the vast majority of the game time is spent in that loop of deciding which card to play next. You can always pick one from your hand or the top of the deck. You play it down, and then that's where the dice roll comes in, is you'll have a rating that you have to roll to beat if you want to get another card down. And that gets longer and harder as your combo goes on. If you mess it up, you leave yourself open for the enemy to flip another card to hit you back.
Let's see. So if we sat down to play, what would the exact play look like or sound like? So I get a certain amount of cards and then I draw, or how does that go down?
Yeah, okay. So there's up to 4 players all sitting together. You're each playing unique heroes that have different abilities that are kind of built into them. And on your turn, you'll have 3 cards in hand, and you'll have the attack deck there also. You'll pick one of the cards from your hand. It'll have a certain amount of damage. You'll have a certain combo rating, which I've mentioned a couple times here. And you'll play it down. And then if you want to get in a second hit, you have to roll a 10-sided die and at least get as much as that combo rating that you have. And then when your second card comes out, it can be any of the remaining cards from your hand, or you can blindly take the top card of the attack deck. And then these cards, in addition to having these, they've got special abilities like tempo effects if you get the card in the right spot in a combo, tag team, wrestling, super closers that help set up the next player who's going to go with some special ability. Then there's also kind of a system with instants for Magic. Here they're called Cardma, where if you throw cards away from your hand, you get some effect on your turn, or you can help an ally out. But the whole core of the game is that whole decision of which card comes next and rolling to continue and kind of planning out your combo there.
Okay, so what would stop my combo from going? Like if I don't roll high enough, or if the AI or the other card says something different?
While you are still rolling well, nothing's going to stop your combo. But with each card that comes out, it adds a little bit of difficulty to the combo. So let's say that your combo rating is currently a 5 from the cards you got out. You're going to roll a 10-sided die. If you get at least a 5, now you can play out your next card. If you don't, then the enemy that you're attacking is going to flip an attack from the enemy attack deck, and it's going to hit you for some amount of damage. It might trigger the enemy's special ability. And then you come back to where you were right before, and you're once again deciding, do I roll to continue or do I stop here? So you don't lose your whole combo if you mess it up, but you're brought back to the point where you have to try again to keep it going. And so I've seen players, sometimes they'll get right on the edge of knocking out the bouncer of the club, and they really want to make it land so that the bouncer doesn't survive into the next round, but they've got a combo rating of 8 or 9, and so they're rolling to get it, and they're going for it over and over again, but because they're on such a long combo already, the enemy keeps getting in their hits instead of having the player get in the hits that they were trying to land.
Oh, okay, wow, that sounds really cool. And you talked about bouncer, so is there different narratives throughout the story, or how is that built?
At the start of the game, you pick one of 10 bosses, and they all have a little bit of narrative around them. They have gangs that they're associated with. They have a rule that they'll add to the entire duration of the game. But the rest of the enemies kind of come out randomly from the enemy deck. And so each enemy will have a health amount. They'll have some sort of special ability that will trigger sometimes. Maybe if you're fighting the tattooed lady from the Dark Circus, when she comes out, then you actually end up with an extra enemy because the tattoo on her back jumps out and becomes a new enemy that you have to fight also as part of that wave.
Oh, wow. And so is it just the main boss, or there's other bosses along the way, other bad guys along the way to get to the main boss, I guess?
Right. So you have to get through 3 fights, and the third fight has the boss. So for the first 2 fights, the only way that you're really interacting with the boss of the game is that rule that they put in place. So you've got Boss Newman, who runs the Lowlife gang. When he's in play, everyone from his gang is going to roll an extra die every time they attack, and that can be massive. Or you've got the Cloistered Emperor, who runs the Daimyo gang. They're sort of sidewalk samurais, like mixture of like Eastern martial arts and street thugs. And whenever he's in play, anytime that you defeat someone from his gang, instead of being knocked out forever, they actually go and join him in his final fight. So the third fight of the game, the first fight you're fighting some number of enemies, then you go and shop in between levels because this is just like Double Dragon or those sorts of games. And then the second fight, and then another shopping phase. But in that third fight, you have the enemies just like you did before, some 3 to 5 enemies that you're fighting, plus this giant boss card that's hitting harder and has his ways that he bends the rules.
So after I play all the 10 bosses or the 10 different scenarios or whatnot, am I pretty much done, or how's replayability for Beatdown Streets of Justice?
The 10 different bosses will give you the 10 different alternate rule sets, if you will, for the game. Replayability isn't tied up too much into have I played this boss before or not, because there's also 6, actually, because of Kickstarter backers, we're up to 8 heroes in the game that you can play as. And each hero has their own different archetype, because there's boxers. Those are low health, high damage heroes. There's wrestlers that kind of protect the team or protect themselves. There's kung fu heroes that do more specialist control elements. One of them can reroll dice. One of them's a healer. And with each character that you bring, they also have a set of 5 special attacks that they shuffle into the deck that everyone's using. So if you bring the healer Ming, then everyone has a little bit more access to healing in the deck. So when you bring that out to a 4-player game, there's all sorts of different base experiences that you can get from what does your team look like? Are you made up from mostly these boxers? Which boxer did you bring? Pistol Priscilla? Because then you'll have a lot of cards in the deck that kind of bring out easy combos so you can stretch them for a long time, because that's her flavor. But if you bring the other boxer, Knock Knock, he's kind of a street vigilante. And when he's in the game, there's more cards in there that are all about critical hits and easier crits and better crits. So while they both are high damage characters, they play very differently. And so whichever characters you bring, each set plays the game a little bit differently. And then each set kind of plays against different enemies and different bosses differently. So when you get certain enemies, critical hits are going to serve you really well. If you bring Knock Knock, he's going to have a really easy time going through the Enforcer, but he's going to have a really hard time going against the enemies that don't respond well to critical hits and instead take more consistent damage. And so if you do the factorials on the numbers, 1 to 4 players, that you can mix in 8 characters. It's been a while since I've done combinatorics, but if I was trying to like impress you with a number, there's somewhere in the realm of 85,000 different ways to play this game.
There you go. You heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Life, depending on how his numbers are. 85,000 different ways or so, depending. Now, what would you say the thing that you're when it comes to Beatdown Streets of Justice, Matt? What are you most proud of about when it comes to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely that core system, that combo system, because I've been playtesting and running this game for about 3 years now, and people say the closest games to it are either Sentinels of the Multiverse or Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Card Game, but neither one of them uses this hand planning, push your luck central mechanic. And that's where we wanted to come from the very start when we were making this game, is we wanted to actually get the feel of a multi-hit combo to be right, because in so many different either tabletop RPG systems or board games, even if they have like quote-unquote combo attacks, they don't feel like it. It's either just like, oh, you get to do 3 attacks because you're a monk, or it's something like, if you don't push your luck far enough, then everything is lost. And then that's not really push your luck, because that's just a requirement to play the game. But we wanted every hit in the combo to feel unique, whether you're doing a suplex or a crane kick, or whether you've got Ming's Chi Thief to turn attacks into healing. And so picking which card comes out exactly where and how far you're going to push it is a choice at every step of the combo. So while you're building it, it's not like those games where you're planning it out, and then once you've got the idea, you just slap all the cards down and there you go. Because with each card that comes out, there's new decisions to be made. And when you're pulling your cards blindly from the deck, you don't know how that's going to be changing your combo until it's already down.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. So, and you said there's a lot of decisions to be made. How does that affect somebody with analysis paralysis? I hear I suffer from AP.
Analysis paralysis is kind of twofold on this. One thing that we do to avoid it is, like I said, you have a limited hand. You only have 3 attacks in your hand. And the average combo goes to 4 or 5 cards. I've seen them go up to 13 cards. And so oftentimes those cards aren't coming from the 3 choices in your hand. They're coming blindly from the top of the deck, because you can always choose one of the ones that you know, or you slap down a new one and make that new decision. But since you only have a limited number of cards in hand that you have to keep track of, you aren't looking at 15 cards and deciding which one do I play. You're kind of looking at 3 and making up decisions in your mind of like, what opportunity, if it comes up, am I going to use this one instead of going blind?
Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So that's awesome. And now you talked about 3 years or so of play testing or whatnot. How many renditions of the game have you seen over the 3 years?
Lots. The game, so that core system of building the combo and the way that the cards kind of come out, because each card's split in half. There's a left side and a right side, and with each card that comes out, it covers the right side, so like you're reading the current state of the combo. That stayed the same through the years, but everything else has changed. In the first version of the game, you weren't playing as different heroes, like everyone was the same, but we brought those in to kind of get that feeling of like specializations, like when you're playing World of Warcraft and you want to have a healer and you want to have a tank, you know? There used to be 2 different combo ratings, one for fumbling, one for comboing. People didn't get that, and so we simplified that section. We've added a lot of things to make the game feel more interconnected, because the multiplayer experience is supposed to be a cooperative one where you really feel like you're helping your teammates, and it's gotten there, but it wasn't there to begin with. We have seen maybe 5 major versions of the game in that time, and dozens of introductions or removals of mechanics and things like that. Because when you're making a board game, you start out with what you think like the exact way that game should be is, but you go out and you do all these play tests and you get in front of people and you see what they like and what they don't. And even though you had the starting spot, if you're not listening, you're not going out and like changing the game because they didn't like this or they really liked this, then you're not going to have a game that people want to play. And as a game maker, I think the thing everyone always wants is they want people to want to play their game. So one of the things that people really latched onto that I wasn't expecting is there's some flavor text or some
some thematic things in the cards that sometimes can be jokes, a little bit of humor. Like I talked about Ming the healer. She brings healing cards, but she's also this like 7-year-old Chinese girl, so she's not the best fighter. So when you play her, some of the cards in the deck, they're not just like healing cards. She has some in there that are just really bad attacks, like awful. They've got horrible combo ratings. They don't do much damage. And when the players flip that card out of the deck and they see it for the first time, like it's always, am I allowed to cuss on this podcast?
Yeah, it's family friendly if you don't mind.
All right, I'm gonna keep it family friendly. But direct quote from like 2 days ago, someone flipped over Ming's clumsy strike and he said, "What the F is this?" And his whole team looked at it and they started cracking up because they knew that that was Ming's flavor, but this horrible attack had come out of the deck and had kind of like ruined that combo, because while Ming is a very powerful healer, like the more humorous side of her being a bad fighter in a fighting game is something that people have actually really loved finding and kind of engaging with.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. So that's really cool. So anything can happen, I guess, in the game. So 3 years, how did you know? It looks like, according to Kickstarter, you're a first-time creator. How did you know when it was ready to come to Kickstarter?
Well, that's the good question, because it's when we knew that it was complete was a pretty easy question, because I had been using SurveyMonkey to track how people engaged with different parts of the game. And like, I had like a 20-question survey, like, what'd you think of this? What'd you think of that? Where they simply asked like, loved it, hated it, somewhere in the middle, you know? And watching those numbers get up to the area where I wanted them to be, and then watching the players just become more and more consistently engaged with the game. It was really easy to see when I had a game that had real fans that most of the playtesters who sat down really loved, especially the ones that like either solo games or cooperative games. Like that part, that was easy to see by numbers or just by watching. But the question of when is it ready for Kickstarter, something that I've been finding out is more a question of how much reach do you have? Because from the fans that we've got from our mailing list and our Facebook page, like we've got fans that love this game that have been like checking in with us like every couple of months for years, like, hey, is it coming out yet? But you always have to get a certain amount of money to get that first run produced. And no matter how much your fans love the game, the question isn't, have you made a good game? It's, have you made this game available to enough people that they'll get out there and they'll back it?
I agree with you. Yeah, I used to listen to a podcast. He hasn't podcasted for quite some time, according to my knowledge, but Richard Bliss, Funding the Dream, and he always talked about with crowdfunding, it's not necessarily not having the funding, but it's having the crowd. How have you built your crowd over the 3 years, Matt?
So this is our first big project in this regard, and it's been almost entirely people that we've gotten to sit down for the playtest. And that's been a very slow build, because even it's not a long game, but it's 3 fights, and a demo would be 1 fight. So like each person you get to play the game, that's 30 to 45 minutes to hope to get an email address that you can get onto the thing. We've dabbled in a few things like Facebook ads and other awareness, but it's largely been, I have been hitting through Playtest Northwest, like every game store game night within 50 miles of Seattle, week after week after week, and just sitting people down and saying, play this game, I think you'll like it.
Awesome. And then if they like it and stuff, try to see if they'll give you their email address.
Yeah, so I've got a mailing list through MailChimp. I've got a Facebook page. I used to put a lot more emphasis on getting people to like the Facebook page, because I kind of like the interaction that you have with the community there. But I found that it's a lot easier to get people onto your mailing list. So if I could go back in time, I would have made a more aggressive approach towards getting people on the mailing list and making a 5 to 10 minute demo, because like I go out to PAX, like I just went to PAX West this last weekend, and I was demoing the game 10 to 12 hours a day. And from the moment I sat down, like to 10 hours later, there was never an empty seat. Like people were sitting down before the other people were even getting up. And so it's getting people to play the game, to like the game, isn't too hard. But when you think about the amount of time it takes to gather each fan for your mailing list or for your Facebook page, it's a real heavy investment.
But would you say that investment is worth it?
Well, I mean, from a player and a game designer perspective, absolutely. I've loved getting people to help me build the game, find out what works and doesn't, and then getting people excited about it. From the financial side, like, we're looking for $10,000 on this Kickstarter. We're 60% of the way there right now. And it's on the razor's edge. Will we make it or will we not? And so if we don't make it, then the main mistake that we made is we didn't get enough people on that mailing list, and we didn't find a more efficient way to build fans than just sitting down and playing.
Well, at least when I've found with my mailing list and stuff, a lot of people don't necessarily, they might be there on the mailing list, but they're not necessarily going to open or even click through or whatnot. What kind of conversion, if you don't mind us asking, if not, we can always delete this out, but what kind of conversion have you found from the people who have actually joined your mailing list coming over to see the Kickstarter so far?
Let me, 1 second. I have that exact number. It is 74%.
Oh, that's pretty good from what I've heard and stuff.
Actually, 74% for opens, 50% for clicks.
Yeah, so not like you're saying, not everybody's going to necessarily come over. They may wait or whatnot. That's another thing. I don't know. I know people talked about it, but are you? And maybe it's in beta still. But are you able to see how many people are wanting to be reminded of the project when it's about 48 hours through? 48 hours left.
Yeah, a lot of those are $1 backers, and for us, that makes up about a third of the backers that we have right now. That's the way that a lot of people follow along on these things, and that's kind of nerve-wracking because I don't know what the conversions on those numbers be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's pretty rough. So it's hard to say.
If all those $1 backers actually bought the game, like they upped theirs to a pledge, we'd be at 100%, But of course, we're not going to get 100% on that, but you don't know, and it's always down to the wire.
Yeah, for sure. That can be a nerve-wracking thing. But it sounds like you've been doing a lot of the correct things, like building the mailing list and all that, trying to see what people like with the surveys and stuff. So that's awesome. And most importantly, well, I guess like you said, that's pretty important as well. But also really important is it looks like you have a solid game here. And you're probably pretty biased, so besides you're liking it, are there any other people that like it, like reviewers that maybe people, if they want to go and check out what other people think about it?
Yeah, okay, so for reviewers, we have reviews on our Facebook page. We have reviews on Board Game Geek, and those are mostly from customers and fans that like have played the game. None of those reviews come from like friends or family. These are people that their only horse in the game is that they've played the game. But for professional reviews, we've got about a 3-paragraph, 1-page write-up from Pawn's perspective, if anyone's heard of him. He's kind of one of the bigger names stateside in game review preview. He liked it. You can find his review on the Kickstarter. He talked specifically about how well the core system worked. If you've from overseas, or if you read from overseas, Germany's a big board game hub. Board Game Monkeys has a few thousand followers, and they wrote up recently a big old review. They absolutely loved it. You're going to have to set Google Translate on and translate from German. Once again, you can find that one on our Kickstarter page. And lastly, Ultimate Team Up, a streamer / Kickstarter board game awareness, I actually ran into the guy at PAX, and he played my game at 9:30 at night, and he loved the theme and the way that the core mechanics brought the theme together. So he actually turned right around and did a live stream on it the very next day with me running it for him in front of like his 1,000 viewers. And so that was, like, you can find from Ultimate Team Up his stream about Beatdown, and there's another review out there.
Oh, awesome. Was that Gerald?
That's Gerald. That is Gerald King.
Awesome. Yeah, I love watching his stuff, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was kind of a dream come true, because there's some big names in local board gaming, or even not local board gaming. He's from the other side of the country.
Yeah, Ohio, yeah.
They come out to things like Dragonflight and PAX, and these are people that I've been reading their reviews, and then to be at the point where now they're tweeting at me like, hey, keep your board set up because I want to come by and play. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, and they can check all that out. You said either on the Kickstarter page or the Facebook page?
Yeah, I don't have the link set up for Gerald's Ultimate Team Up for us. I'm going to get that in there as soon as I can. But if you follow him, he's got it. Kicking It with the King, I think, is his new Kickstarter-oriented stream that just started. We were actually the first game he reviewed on it, and so that was neat.
Oh, cool! I'll have to check that out, and I'll get a link. I can get a link from him as well, and any links you give us, we'll make sure we put them in the show notes, so people don't necessarily have to type everything in, so they can come and check it out and see what it's all about. So that's awesome. Now, per se, somebody's they've been busy, distracted. Maybe they're grocery shopping. Maybe they've fallen asleep. Maybe they get tired of my voice or whatnot. Because at the time of this recording, we just started the 1st of September. We just started September, and since the 1st of the year, I've released 146 episodes. So sometimes people get a little bit tired of hearing my voice thrown on and on. So sometimes they get sidetracked or whatnot, and so they miss a lot of what I say or whatnot, or they've never confirmed either way if they do or they don't. So they're suddenly jolted awake. They're suddenly jolted awake, Matt, and now you have their full attention. Why should they take a chance on Beatdown, Streets of Justice, especially with all the other great games that are out there on the Kickstarters currently?
Yeah, all right. So top selling points of Beatdown, it's got that retro arcade Streets of Rage Double Dragon flavor to it. And it brings that alive through this central push your luck, plan your hands combo mechanic that's not like anything you've seen. You're making decisions and you're actively engaged with each attack you're putting down. And it's solo or cooperative 1 to 4. If you like solo games, I know that's a small market right now, but we made sure that the solo game is the same game. You're just playing it by yourself. If you like cooperative, this is not like the cooperative games that you've played. This one has you actively working together, fighting through these waves of enemies and setting each other up with suplex tag team effects or using kung fu healing in the middle of the game to heal the other one. It's review after review. That's what's been coming back on our pages is this is cooperative like we've never seen it before.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, so, and I'm not the Leaf side. If anybody's listened to our show before, we're not necessarily all that into co-op. We prefer like a competitive, but I'm really a big fan of the 90s video games or whatnot and Double Dragon and stuff, and just looking it over and whatnot and just listening to you. It sounds like something totally awesome, and something intrigued me at the first part. I don't necessarily see it. Maybe I do see it on the Kickstarter or whatnot, but you talked about a mat. What can you tell us about the player mat?
Okay, so before you get your hopes up, this is not one of those super roll up. The player mats they're chipboard, okay, and they sit in front of the player and they keep track of your health, your hero, the current status, and whatever super move you currently have access to or whatever equipment you're currently wearing. They serve the purpose of the game, but if playmats are like the thing that you absolutely love to have, I don't want to get your hopes up and say we've got the best playmats in the business, because that's not the case. It's just one of the components that kind of brings the flavor to life. They're kind of comic booky looking, and if you're a playmat guy, the game does have playmats, but don't get too excited here.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I think I see them here, but yeah, they look kind of like a retro video game, though, so it looks kind of cool, though.
Yeah.
So if you're into that stuff, and I know I am, so that's awesome. So there you go. So that's awesome. And now, so yeah, and it sounds like you've listened to a couple of our podcasts. It might have been a while, so maybe you're prepared, maybe you're not prepared. But the next portion of our podcast, Matt, is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an app, be it for your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, or even a video game, and doesn't even necessarily have to be related to old 90s beat 'em up games or anything like that, or tabletop gaming for that matter. Is there an app you use a lot of that we can talk about for a moment, Matt?
Would Hearthstone, the game, count?
If it's an app and you use it a lot, I don't see why not.
It is an app. Awesome. Yes. I'm going to go with Hearthstone.
Okay, so maybe somebody, I think I've heard of it or maybe seen it even. Maybe somebody else is out there like me, or they live under a rock or whatnot. What can you tell us about Hearthstone, the app?
Okay, so Hearthstone is kind of like Magic the Gathering. It's a competitive card game, but it's completely digital. It's made by Blizzard, the same guys that make World of Warcraft. And it's competitive, and it's an app from your phone. You can play against other people anywhere in the world. And it's the thing that eats more of my iPhone battery than anything else.
Oh boy, you're going to burn our batteries down. That's not good. So, what do you like about it?
So the things that I like about it is getting actually deeply strategic games on your phone is pretty rare. It's a lot of match 3 or word games, but this is one of those competitive card games actually like all bundled up into an app. And it's also a game that you can kind of play and then be doing something else at the same time, because it doesn't take constant activity. Like you play your turn, you wait for their turn. So it kind of keeps you half engaged, and I really like that.
So you like competitive then? You're not all about the co-op?
Right. I've got a real soft spot for cooperative, but one of the neat things about competitive games is with evolving metas and other players getting good at the game and being, clever and smart on their side, the challenge always increases because other people are what you're going against. Oh, actually, 1 second. I just thought of another app that I do love, and I just found out about, so I've got to bring it up. It's called Chawzi.
It's going to be a co-op game, huh?
No. It's the simplest app, okay? It's called CHWAZI Chawzi, and it's for determining who goes first in a video game.
Oh boy, how do they do that?
Or which place you want to go. Or like, if let's say everyone's trying to go out to dinner, you decide whose choice it is for dinner. And it works as simple as this. You open the app, and you have everyone touch the screen, and it puts a little circle around everyone's finger. And then after 2 to 3 seconds, it kind of glows and shakes, and it picks one of those as your choice. So if you ever use roll first dice or anything like that, this is just a dumb little app on your phone that does that for you. You can't decide if you're going to this restaurant or that restaurant. Everyone puts their finger on, and 2 seconds later, you know that you're going to Red Robin.
Okay, and does it take into account if their hands are clean?
It does not. So you gotta bring that screen sanitizer yourself.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. And so if you own the rights to either I guess if you own the rights to both Hearthstone as well as Chawzi, you called it?
Chawzi, CHWAZI.
Okay, if you own the rights to those 2 apps, what would be one thing you would do to fix them or make them better, Matt?
I'm not going to even touch on Hearthstone how to make it better, because there's a team of highly trained professionals working on that. But let's take a look at Chawzi and the go first sort of thing. I guess I would find a way to make it interconnected with someone else's phone far away, because sometimes I'm sitting on Discord, hanging out with my friends that are over in Chicago. I'm in Seattle. And we might have something where we can't decide, are we going to play this game or that game, or are we going to be done for the night? Like, have it sort of able to, like, I touch my phone, you touch your phone way over there. That would also help with the clean fingers thing.
Oh, there you go. There you go. He solved it.
Don't touch my phone, touch your phone.
Well, there you go. Awesome. Yeah, so if we try to make a green podcast around here, so if any of the creators or anybody that deals with updates or anything from Chawzi are ever listening, you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, what Matt, the creator of Beatdown, Streets of Justice, that's currently on Kickstarter, would do to make that an app better, and also to keep his phone a little bit cleaner.
Cleaner phones, cleaner living.
There you go, cleaner living. That's awesome. Now, so that's awesome. Now, we don't want to keep you all night or whatnot, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Game Life, just because you got into that you do like competitive well. Can we ask if there's any dirt about stuff you might be working on under the table that maybe after Beatdown is funded and delivered, or even after it's funded?
I've got 2 contenders for my next game, And there's actually one that I was thinking of last night that I wouldn't know how I'd bring it to life, but it was kind of a fun idea. But out of the three of them, only that last one is competitive. And since you like competitive, I'll tell you what I was thinking. This might come out to playtest. It might make it to production. It might never see the light of day. But you know those posters that say, see something, say something? When you're on the subway, when you're in the airport, where it's like, if you see something, say something, to like an unattended bag or something like that, right? So imagine this for a quick little 2-player competitive game. One person is trying to smuggle things through the airport or the X-ray scanner or something like that. The other person is the TSA agent trying to stop them. And the core mechanic here involves like a system where you actually have this conveyor belt that's kind of like crank operated that you lay cards down on and crank as they go past. And it's sort of like a Where's Waldo I Spy thing where one of the players is secretly trying to hide items that aren't supposed to go through, and the other player's like actively trying to find the things that shouldn't be in there. But if you can get it past them, then you win as the player who's smuggling. If you can stop a certain amount of smuggled items, you win as the TSA agent. See something, say something.
Yeah, see something, say something. I really like it. So if anybody's listening or whatnot, and you know that us Leafs, we like competitive games, go ahead and at the very least, check out Beatdown Streets of Justice there on the Kickstarter. Like I said, we'll leave links in the show notes. But go ahead and check it out. And if you like it, go ahead and click that Back This Project button. Nothing will be charged to your card until it fully reaches its goal. And the project's over on Monday, the 24th of September. That way, Matt can keep that positive mojo or whatnot and come out with this game, so we can hopefully go ahead and preview it for him the next time he hits the Kickstarters.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love is seeing what the fans are liking, what ideas they're engaging on. I think when we come to our next project, we're gonna hit people with a lot of 1 week prototypes and see what people love. If they love the competitive aspect of that TSA game I was talking about, or if they like some other idea, I really like going where the flow is. And like here with this Getting Geeky competitive side of things, like if that's what people want, that's what I want to make.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. But yeah, and I love, like I said, Beatdown Streets of Justice. Now, like I said, Matt, we don't want to keep you all night, so mind us coming there to your hometown to stalk you or keep up with Beatdown Streets of Justice. How would people go about keeping up with that, or other games you have coming out in the future and whatnot?
Sure, yeah. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter at Beatdown Justice. You can find us at our website, PistonCityGames.com. That's our name for ourselves as if we were a company, Piston City Games. And those are the main ways that you're going to stay in touch. We have a mailing list that you can find on our Facebook page. You can find it on our website. And that's how you know what we're doing. And we actually, on our website, we are talking about the other game that we're kind of a little bit along on. We actually started a couple years ago and then put it on the back shelf to get Beatdown out. But it's another app-based RPG system, kind of like Weave that I was talking about at the beginning of the program. But you asked what I would change, and I already know what I would change because I've already got mine in the works. We don't know if that'll be the next full-time thing we're working on, but it's really exciting to have going.
Awesome. And do you do this the game design and everything full-time?
No, I'm a web developer by day at Zulily.com, kind of a daily deal site for moms and babies. And because I've got this passion for games and a ton of experience as a web designer and web developer, it's kind of a unique angle that I can approach these things from, where I've written up the rule book for Beatdown Streets of Justice is actually also online as a web app that's searchable, it's filterable. When you go in and it adapts to the phone screen or the computer screen, if you go to the FAQ section, you can ask a question and it goes to my database and I can answer it.
Oh, wow. Just like a messenger thing?
Yeah, well, it's not just a messenger thing because we're not using like Facebook or Twitter under the hood. It's actually like the questions that you type in and submit are going straight to my database, and I can either use it to fix rules that weren't really understandable, or I can go in and as the moment I type an answer, it pops into the FAQ section for all the players to see. So you're never going to have that issue where when we launch this, that there's some errata that has to be released to fix the rulebook, because the rulebook is online. It's an app. And like another side of that is everyone's got their phone. This app is designed for phones, and you can have all 4 people able to look at the rulebook at the same time instead of, hey, when you're done, can I look at that? Because I want to look up healing. You can just pop it open on your phone. You can type in healing on the search, and it'll go straight to the rules that talk about healing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds really cool. So that's awesome. Yeah, so, and I just clicked on over there, and yeah, it looks pretty intuitive, just jumping over there, and so you don't have to necessarily go to bgg.com, which actually has me blocked for that whole BGDR or whatever, I forget the actual letters are, but they have me blocked and it won't let me click the I agree with this and whatnot. But this way you can everybody can jump over there and check out the rule book or whatnot. So yeah, well, like I said, you go ahead and give us the links, and we'll make sure we go ahead and leave those in the show notes or whatnot. Now, once again, we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with us tonight, Matt, to talk all about Beatdown, Streets of Justice. It's on Kickstarter through the 24th of September.
Thank you so much. This has been a blast.
No problem. I had fun too.
What is this place? What is it doing here in the Leaves computer? Oh, it's Kickstarter Corner with the Leaves.
Survival the Dummies trivia game, the essential pack. Can you think like a genius while acting like a dummy? Can you rub your tummy and pat your belly while naming all the constellations in the sky? If you like laughing while others are trying to complete other fun and bizarre tasks, then definitely check out Survival the Dummies, the essential pack. Now on Kickstarter, you can try this game before you back it by going to survivalthedummies.com/subscribe, and then head on over to our link in the show notes so you can back it. This project goes through Monday, the 10th of September. Do you like old art? Do you like classic art? Then you may want to check out Auteur Designs. That's AUTEUR Designs. It's a casual card game about collecting paintings and outwitting your opponents. This one recently has funded on the Kickstarter, and there's still, about 4 days to go. This one ends on Tuesday, the 11th of September. So definitely check out Auteur Designs, the card game about classic art. Next, do you like bosses? Do you like their minions as well? Then you might want to check out Battle Bosses. Battle Bosses is a multiplayer miniature battle arena game for 2 to 6 players, where each player controls an epic boss like Cthulhu or a dragon or anything fun, even a robot, who I like to call an Autobot, as well as all of their minions. It looks epic. I really hope they fund. Right now, at the current time, you have about 6 days or so to go, as this one ends on Friday, the 14th of September. Well, maybe a week to go, depending. I don't know how Kickstarter does their timing. It's not right for me, but it might be right for you. Did you ever play Truth or Dare as a kid? I know I did. I really liked it. Well, try it as an adult in a strategic party game for people. Players perform challenges to earn badonkadolars. The most money after 60 to 90 minutes wins. This one has about a week to go, or a little bit more, as it ends on Sunday, the 16th of September. Being a family-friendly podcast and all, the one we can get behind with this is the family-friendly way, which is PG-13. Play with the green challenge deck only by removing the jacked-up cards and excluding the jackwagon deck. Their family-friendly version. It's acceptable for teenagers, 13 to adult. Next is No Escape, which is a competitive maze building game that also has the Take That element for 2 to 8 players. You definitely want to check out this one, as they are going to fund, no doubt, this time. Right now, at the time of the recording, they're a little bit shy of $600, but there's still 3 weeks to get in on the fun action. Definitely check it out. It was recently reviewed by Mark from the Dice Tower, as well as many others. You can check all of that out on the Kickstarter link that we'll leave in the show notes for you and your friends. Be the last one out, or else there be no escape. Did you ever wonder what Cool Mini or Not is backing on Kickstarter? Well, no need to wonder anymore if you don't follow along with them. I do on my email, and they recently backed this game, so you may very well want to check it out. It's Simulation Theory board game. Do you trust your reality? It's a board game for 1 to 5 players that explores the theme where your universe may just be a complex simulation. There's 3 realities, 3 modes, 1 game. At the time of this recording, there was about 4 days ago. When you're hearing this, let's see here, about 3 or so days ago, they funded in 100% in 18 hours, and they're still going strong, like I said, 3 days ago. So you'll definitely want to check out Simulation Theory board game. The world is quite immersive. I had the creator Mark on a while back ago, and it's amazing. I believe you can go to one of the updates there on his Kickstarter page to hear all about it in our interview. Now, let's go ahead and bring you our least favorite time, your least favorite time for us to get on with our lives, you to get on with your lives. In the meantime, I hope you all go ahead and get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others into Geekful. Game Relief out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.